What's up, YouTube? Eugene here. Hope you're all well. Going to be looking at from Maison Christian Dior. This is Purple Oud, and this has been kind of a bitch for me to acquire. Its release is really sketchy. It's not available in Canada. At least it wasn't until now. Some parts of the U.S. have it. They do show it on their website. It's exclusive to some parts of Europe or the Middle East. I don't know. It's the whole line is really, it's kind of bizarre when you're trying to track one of these down. Some pieces are exclusive to certain parts of the country and others are, vice versa. But the whole thing's really, it's kind of annoying if you're a follower of this brand, if you're a collector, whatever you want to call it. But Purple Oud, which even the naming to me is quite bizarre because there's nothing really purple about it except for the color of the fragrance. You can see there it's got this really monotone purple to it. It's not a sparkly bright purple, but all the fragrances kind of have these pastel like colors to them. So I don't know. I mean, they're all kind of catchy to the eye, but I don't really find anything purple to this. When I think purple, I think sweet or girly maybe, or a sweet patchouli, which I don't get any of that in this perfume. This is a very dry, spicy, woody, and nothing at all sweet to this. So the name is, I don't know if it's misleading or contradictive or what they were really going for in that regards. Maybe it's just a marketing ploy. I don't know, maybe perfumes with the name purple sell more opposed to ones that would be called vetiver oud or something. But I see very often that this is compared to Oud Isfahan. I've read that and I don't get anything of those similarities either. It's nothing like Oud Isfahan to me. There's absolutely no rose to this perfume. Oud Isfahan's quite skanky. This isn't skanky, but it does have a slight dirtiness to it coming from the spices. So I did pick this up in my travels. I did find this at, I was in the US last weekend and I found this at Bergdorf Goodman. And they only had the bigger size. I prefer the 125 mil, but these guys were only carrying the 8 point, what is this? I don't know, 250 mil. But I picked this up, and I also picked up Fahrenheit Perfume, which isn't available in Canada either. Sometimes you get lucky and you can find it on a discount site when it's available. But this is really lovely just as well. So this video is going to contain two parts. The first is going to be where I gush over Purple Oud or Vetiver Oud. And the second is going to be my typical whiny banter about Francois Demachy, and for good reason this time. Well, it's always for good reason, but I don't want to attack him for no reason. But this time it's, again, I've got reason to come after him because this does remind me a lot of something else. And I'm and part of me thinks I've got like schizophrenia because nobody else really talks about this except for myself. I'm like, is this really happening? Is this really true? Like, what is going on here? Should I even mention this or should I not? Because I don't know. It's just the whole thing's really bizarre to me, but I'm sure I don't have schizophrenia and I'm fine, but I'm just not understanding where Dior is coming at from doing all this, but we'll get into that. Let's discuss the smell first. So I really, really, really like this. And even though I always say I'm not the oud guy. I don't care for oud and, stuff like that. But there is a synthetic oud to this, and it's weird. Like one day it's here, sometimes it's not. It shows up differently on paper than it does on skin or in the air. But let's put a blast up in the air. You don't need a whole lot of this stuff. But it's very dry and it's very smoky and very ashy. The oud is very black. I see lots of dark colors to this. And it reminds me very much of a forest. It's very dry. But It's a lot of spices in here too. I almost think I pick up there's brilliant use of spices in here, and I have a hard time understanding what they are, you know. Um, I think on the Dior website they list saffron, but to me it's not a photorealistic saffron, or it's not saffron that I'm accustomed to. And I'd have a hard time even saying, yeah, I understand this saffron, but maybe it's just something abstract that Francois Demachy is using here. But I love the use of spices here. They're very peppery and masculine, and I believe there's a clove note in here, because there's times where this gives off almost this sour body odor effect, where it makes me kind of standoffish, and I've got to be aware of my surroundings, and I don't want anybody to come too close to me because of that. It might not be clove, but it's not a traditional clove that I'm used to. It's hard for me to describe what it is, but it's very spicy. Also very woody. Lots of dry woods in here. It almost reminds me of being out in the forest. It's very green, like dark green. So these aren't lush woods. These are very dry, smoky, almost like burnt woods, like a forest has caught fire, and it's the day after the fire has died down, and it's been almost put out by rain. It's almost got that smoldering effect to it without the heat, if that makes any sense. Very ashy, very dusty, very dry. That's basically what I get. And then the vetiver kicks in. There's a huge dose of earthy, rooty, spicy, green vetiver to this. And again, it's not that lush vetiver like you would find in a Guerlain vetiver. It's more very dry and spicy, almost like the one you'd find in Chanel's Sycamore. and that's where I'm going with my next part. It's got a lot of like smoking, burning shrubs and leaves and stuff like that. Exactly the same things that I'd find in Sycamore. So this to me is a knockoff of Sycamore. It is 100% inspired by Chanel's Sycamore, and it's just so blatantly obvious. It's almost like, there's a lot of Sycamore in here. This is not like little bits and pieces. This is like the whole painting. So Francois has taken a whole painting of Chanel Sycamore. Let's call it the Mona Lisa if you want to make it easier. And he's just kind of disguised it with a little bit of spray paint. We'll consider the spray paint oud. So he's just touched up the borders of the Mona Lisa. Black spray paint, touched up the edges, and gave the surface a fine mist, to disguise Sycamore, and decided to call it purple oud. And the thing is just, it's glaringly obvious. He's obviously somehow obsessed with duplicating Chanel's. I don't know how far. I wouldn't call it a clone exactly, because it is quite different, but he's done what he does best. Francois, I don't know if he's ever created anything brilliant, and the things that he's credited to, I have a hard time believing that he's actually created, let's say, Leather Oud and Oud Isfahan and Ombre Nuit. I don't know. That's just my assumptions, but the things that I think he does great, or if it's even him doing them, are flankers like Fahrenheit Parfum, or all the flankers he's done for Dior Homme, or other Fahrenheit flankers, or Eau Sauvage flankers. And, this to me is a flanker for Chanel Sycamore, just very modern with oud attached to the name. This could have been named Oud Sycamore, Sycamore Oud. That's kind of the same thing, or just something along those lines. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's glaringly obvious that he's knocking off Sycamore, like he has with Santal Noir. and the egoist comparison, you know, the first time I had smelt something that I thought it was very similar was it was Queer Canage, and I thought, man, this smells a lot like Queer de Russie, but I was like, I didn't say anything because I thought it's probably just a coincidence. There's nothing to it, you know. There's nothing. But then it happened again and again and again. It got a little bit more noticeable, and now it's like it's ridiculous to not say anything or bring this up. But I find it strange that nobody else notices this. Other people have reviewed Purple Oud, and it isn't really a topic. Um, you know, originally, one of my viewers had left a comment in my videos saying that, you know, Purple Oud isn't that great, and it kind of reminds them of Encre Noir. And I'm like, well, that's funny because Encre Noir is known to is best compared to Sycamore, and to me, I've smelt Encre Noir, and this is way more Sycamore to me than it is Encre Noir. Encre Noir's, I mean, Sycamore's got these really interesting spices to them, very unique, that I've never ever smelled anywhere else. It's almost got this mustard seed. I don't know what I would call it. It's kind of piney and very spicy. And I get, you know, I get that what I refer to as mustard seed in here as well. Very piney and spicy and woody and dry and smoky and incensey, you know. So it's like he's take all of Sycamore, let's say this painting, and just disguised it with a little bit of oud spray paint. It's just also very bizarre, and it goes from like, I wouldn't call it an exact clone because it's not, and it's weird. How do you decipher a clone from, I don't know, replica or something inspired? You know, there's got to be some sort of parameters to, like, it's got to be, is it 100% or it's got to be the same to be considered a clone? Is it, you know, are those parameters set at 25% from the start to 25% to the end? I don't know. Like, I wouldn't call it a clone, but I definitely see the Chanel inspirations in a lot of the newer Dior releases, and I definitely see this Sycamore inspirations, and I've seen the Egoist, and I've seen the Queer Canage, and I've seen the Coromandel inspiration. So it's like he's taken, you know, some of the most classic Chanels and said, yeah, I want a piece of those, and let's put them in Dior's lineup, which is really unfortunate because, you know, to me, they lose a lot of integrity, and they lose a lot of that innovation that I've always considered Dior to be, always kind of leaders. And but this is just, it's just really strange and mind-boggling, and I don't know, I'd like to see an end to it. I think, you know, I don't want to personally attack Demachy because that'd be more of a reflection on me than on him, but I'd really like to see him move on, and for Dior to find, you know, another perfumer, or if he's even the perfumer, just something to lead the creativeness, because they've lost all creativity. That's what clones are. They're just kind of borrowing or taking ideas from other things and implementing them. And that kind of explains, you know, the huge number of releases that they've had in their private line recently. I don't know what it was, 13, 18, 20 new releases. That's a lot of perfume, and that's a lot of work for one perfumer to come up with, you know, all on his own in such a short amount of time. So to actually sit there and come up with new ideas is difficult, let alone the time it takes to create these. So, you know, if he's borrowing ideas from other brands, that definitely helps him time-wise. And it also explains some things going on there. But as far as Purple Oud, the perfume on its own, I love this. And I don't really often say that about oud-based perfumes, but I'm really enjoying this. But I've always loved Sycamore. I've always been a fan of Sycamore. I love this as well. But it's really weird to see somebody deface sycamore with oud and this way, but you know, for what it is, I really do enjoy sycamore oud. Strange. It's great. It's a really great spicy woody fragrance. But if you own, you know, both of these, or if you've at least smelt them or worn them full outright, I don't mean on a blotter or, you know, on a card or whatever, or on your hand. If you've worn them properly both several times, I'd love to know what you think. So there you go. Um, Drop your comments below. Always read the comments. Um, like the video if you will, and let me know what you want to see next. I'm going to stick with Dior. I'm not done. You know, it's been almost 2 months now, but I'm still wearing Dior every single day. Kind of enjoying it, but my complaint isn't that the perfumes suck or, you know, I am enjoying the perfumes. I'm just really disappointed in the direction that they're going. They're just not as unique as I would expect coming from a brand like Christian Dior. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.